Hi, my name is Mark Wiggins. I want to welcome you back to my channel, WBMA, or What Burns My Ass. This is the channel where I tell you the things that burn my ass, and then you in the comments will tell me whether or not it burns your ass too. Now, this video is to address the numerous misconceptions that were circulated in recent years about Donald Trump. Now, the purpose of this video is not rooted in me advocating for Donald Trump's run for presidency. Rather, it's to stop the inaccuracies that are frequently propagated by a lot of the media outlets. And it appears that journalists spew these misrepresentations, knowing full well that they are false. And the American people rarely question their validity, so they perpetuate over years and years and years. And this frequently comes from places and media outlets like CNN, MSNBC, and The View, and also Fox. And so that's why I'm going to either verify or invalidate a lot of the myths that have been repeated over the years about Donald Trump. Now, a lot of these misconceptions are things like Trump University, Charlottesville, Rosie O'Donnell, Jesse Jackson, the Rainbow Push Coalition, which is a black leadership group that quote unquote endorsed Donald Trump. Also, Donald Trump's claims about the 2020 election, and also we're going to discuss the 187 minutes of inactivity by Donald Trump on January 6th, the so-called insurrection. So this is where I'm going to give you some information, and this is where you can decide for yourself if it's true or not. And I'm going to provide the links to back up almost everything I say. So here we go. Let's get some facts rolling, and you decide whether or not these things burn your ass. So the first topic that I'm going to talk about that caused a lot of Donald Trump controversy is Trump University. Now, was Trump University unequivocally a scam? No. There was a lot of people that did go to Trump University, and it helped them a lot, and they made a success out of themselves using Trump University. Were there some people that didn't get what they paid for and felt like they were scammed? Yes. Now, is that entirely Donald Trump's fault? No, because he didn't run every aspect of Trump University. So some of that falls on the management that he hired, to run Trump University. But at the same time, the buck stops with him because he owned it, and he was the owner, obviously, and he was supposed to be the one in charge of the university. So he has a significant amount of responsibility towards what happened. But it wasn't entirely a scam. So is it true that it was a scam? No. Is it 100% true that some people felt scammed? Yes, some people felt like they were scammed. And so a lot of people should have got refunded, and they did. There was a lawsuit, and obviously there were settlements made. So it's not like Donald Trump got away with, it scot-free. There was a price to pay, but still, the buck stopped with him. So it's kind of his fault, but it wasn't anything criminal. It was just a poorly run business, which a lot of people think he ran a lot of other poorly run businesses, including casinos and so on. So, it's up to you to decide whether or not, you think that was a scam. But in my opinion, his intention was to run a legitimate business, and because of poor management, some people got defrauded, and he ended up paying the price. So the next controversy with Donald Trump that's frequently repeated on television shows and news media outlets was what Donald Trump said in Charlottesville concerning the Confederate statues that a lot of people wanted taken down because, they were Confederate soldiers, and obviously, the Confederacy was, racist. So a lot of people feel that those statues should be taken down. Now, someone in the crowd that day ran his car through a bunch of people, and he killed and injured several people. And so Donald Trump wanted to give a speech about that and he got in front of news reporters. Now, what he was saying in that speech, and I'm gonna run this clip, is he said that there was good people on both sides, and he did say that. Now, what Whoopi Goldberg and The View constantly says that he was referring to was there was good people in the KKK, so that makes him racist. But if you listen to the entirety of the clip, this is an absolute falsehood. He condemned white nationalists. He he was referring to good people on the both sides that there was good people both for keeping the statues and there was good people against keeping the statues. So this is a liar liar pants on fire media moment because what they did was they completely took what he said out of context. And matter of fact, if I remember correctly, Joe Biden tried to use that so-called quote during the debate, but it's basically false. So the next controversy that's always brought up against Donald Trump is due to the Hunter Biden laptop and all the accusations that Hunter Biden was selling his father, Joe Biden's influence in China and Ukraine and other countries. Um, People like Rosie O'Donnell and The View itself does it frequently, and especially Joy Behar, she does it a lot too, says that Donald Trump's kids made billions of dollars off of the Saudi Arabia. Now, is that true? Not really. Okay, what happened was Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, not his son, had an investment business, and the Saudi prince invested $2 billion in his investment company. Now, some people say that was favoritism and whatever, but there's absolutely no proof of that. Could it be a little bit of favoritism? Yes. Did the Saudi prince lose money? No. But is it theft or is it underhanded or is it illegal? Like basically what Hunter Biden was doing? No. So this is a falsehood. This is another liar, liar, pants on fire moment. Um, because like when Rosie O'Donnell says the other day, matter of fact, she was on uh, Andrew Cuomo's YouTube channel saying that Donald Trump's kid made these billions of dollars and why isn't that? It's been investigated. There was no wrongdoing. And it wasn't illegal like what Hunter Biden was doing. So, of course, if you hate Donald Trump like Rosie O'Donnell does, and there's a lot of reasons why she don't like Donald Trump. But anyway, you know, she's going to toss that out there, and it's the same thing with Whoopi Goldberg and and the other outlets that just basically hate Donald Trump's guts. So it's not true. Now, the next controversy with Donald Trump is the feud between him and Rosie O'Donnell. Now, that started back when Rosie O'Donnell was on The View. And she brought up the fact that he had some bankruptcy. He bankrupted like 4 companies and that he got all his money from his father. And that ticked him off. Big surprise. And so these insults went back and forth. I think he even called her fat and ugly or something to that effect. And the feud's just been going on for years and years and years. So, and she's it's still ongoing. She was recently on Andrew Cuomo's YouTube channel, and she was bad mouthing him and repeating the same things about the good people on both sides. So she's one of the people that are perpetuating some of the lies. Now, did some of the stuff she say is true? Yes, he bankrupted some companies. He's not probably the most upstanding person in the world, but so she does have some legitimate grievances, but for the most part, it's more or less just like a childish name calling feud between 2 kids in junior high school. So it's not really that much of a controversy. They just both need to let it go. Now, the next Donald Trump controversy involves the 2020 election, and Donald Trump's claims that the 2020 election was stolen. Now, there is no proof that happened, yet there were some very fishy things that went on. I mean, obviously he lost the election. Now, did he necessarily lose it unfairly? No. But at the same time, there was a lot of fishy things. And to me personally, that's what caused January 6th. Um, so some of the things that happened before the election, and these are the things that made Donald Trump make these claims, was there was a gentleman who made a claim that he had driven a truck full of ballots from Buffalo, New York to Pennsylvania. And they wouldn't give him receipts and slips about what he did. And he testified that it seemed very fishy that he was driving these ballots, these Democrat ballots, without certain paperwork being signed. Now, this gentleman was a Democrat, and he didn't even like Donald Trump and didn't vote for him. So there was no reason for this gentleman to lie. There was also another gentleman in Georgia who looked at the Georgia ballots and claimed that there was different papers used for different ballots, and that you could tell the difference between a Democrat ballot and a Republican ballot, which is against the law because that would allow election workers to shift and hide or destroy or whatever ballots based on what party that they're affiliated with. So all ballots are supposed to be identical regardless of what party you belong to. And so there was claims that that happened. There was also that big controversy with the box that was shifted and then the supposed um, delay for a leak that happened, and then the numbers jumped greatly um, after midnight for all the mail-in ballots, and Donald Trump went from an extremely large winning lead to losing. Now the other controversy that happened that made people think that this was wrong was that there were certain states that changed their laws just prior to the election, and that's against, especially when I guess there was one that they changed in Georgia, and that actually went against the Georgia Constitution, but they passed it anyways. So that was somewhat fishy. Plus, this gentleman that was in Georgia said he was a counterfeit expert. So he was a government expert to recognize counterfeit bills um, that, through the entire United States that, that get passed or printed or whatever. And he claims that there were ballots that were counterfeit. They weren't genuine Georgia ballots on the right paper with the right ink. Now, that gentleman was never dispelled. And I've looked for the footage of that guy, and I cannot find his name or one video of that claim that happened back then. So to me, it's awfully fishy that they buried that guy's claims and they buried the story to where it's almost impossible to even find his name anymore. Now, does that not mean that Donald Trump didn't lose the election? No, or did it was stolen from him? Not necessarily. And the weird thing about the 2020 election is that Donald Trump won states that if you won those particular states, even if the rest of the election didn't happen, you won the presidency. That was it. You won this in this state, this and this in this state. You won. You're the president. Well, he won those states and still lost. So that made the whole entire thing fishy. And to me, the reason that January 6th happened at all was the media does not do their job. They should have dispelled what this gentleman said in Buffalo, or they should have proven it true or false. And the same thing with the counterfeit expert in Georgia, and also address the laws that were changed and say, actually, what the laws that were changed were legal. Had the media done their job and dispelled all those things for the American people, there wouldn't have been as many people on January 6th there. Because there would have been less reasons to question the election. And it is also the reasons why Donald Trump still questions the election today, and so does a lot of his supporters. So did Donald Trump lose the election? Yes. Was there a lot of fishy things that happened during the election that still have not been explained? Yes. Does that mean he did not lose? No. So it's time to move on. I mean, there's another election coming. We're this far out. If Donald Trump becomes president, he can spend the money to find out the truth about what happened during the election. So we're just going to move on from here and see where it goes. But Donald Trump legitimately did lose the 2020 election. It was or was not necessarily stolen. So let's just move on. That's all the American people can do. Now, the final Donald Trump controversy that I'm going to talk about today is 187 minutes of inactivity by Donald Trump during the January 6th riot. Now, a lot of people refer to January 6th as an insurrection. I disagree with that assertion. Personally, I don't think 150 people could take over our government. And if you believe that, you have very little faith in our military or the structure of our government. But and on top of that, had Donald Trump wanted an insurrection, why did he offer Nancy Pelosi the National Guard? And why, before the rioters went down to the Capitol, he said we're going to march down to the Capitol and peacefully and patriotically let our voices be heard? If his intention was an insurrection, that is not how most people would have started that. So, anyways, Donald Trump, according to this controversy, for 187 minutes, watched the insurrection go on and the people inside the Capitol and did absolutely nothing. Now, that part of it is not true. The part that is true is he didn't do anything for 3 hours and 7 minutes. And what he was doing wasn't sitting there, supposedly sitting there staring at the TV screen and feeling all proud. Supposedly, he was making phone calls to senators to ask them to not certify the electors, therefore the vote wouldn't go through. Is that something a president should probably be doing? No. And the fact that he allowed the people, and there were, they didn't totally ransack, but they broke into the Capitol and there was some damage. The fact that for 187 minutes, he didn't message them or tell them to stop or anything, to me, is the thing that disqualifies him for me for president. To allow 3 hours and 7 minutes to go on like that is inexcusable. And, it's not something, it's just not a presidential act. It's not, he was more concerned of trying to keep office than he was the sanctity of our government. And, my other big problem with him is he just doesn't act. I mean, the president of the United States, that position is a position of honor and dignity. And a lot of times he doesn't demonstrate that, especially when he says things like he did to John McCain about, I like soldiers that didn't get caught. Donald Trump has this issue of sticking his foot in his mouth. And I personally believe it's because he spent his entire life with a silver spoon in his mouth. And as a kid, no one ever told him, that's inappropriate. Don't say that. That hurts people's feelings. So Donald Trump never developed a filter. And that's something a president should have. But he obviously does not. So those are the things that, to me, will not allow me to vote for Donald Trump. Now, there's just as many things for Joe Biden. And that's one of my incentives for starting What Burns My Ass. Because what both presidents have done burns my ass. Because they both did things that are wrong. Like, for example, allowing 10 million unvetted immigrants into the country. That's not something a president should be doing. And again, there's things that there's several things that Donald Trump did over the 4 years too. I don't particularly agree with either. So those are the things that burn my ass. And that's why I wanted to give you these people these facts, because a lot of people didn't know these things went on. And so, it's for you to decide, the American voter. It's for the American people to decide what you do and don't believe, and then vote accordingly for who you want to run this country. And I just, that's it. You have to decide for yourself. And I want you to remember that what burns my ass probably burns your ass too. So thanks for listening.